Hello. Yes. Should I go upstairs?
Good afternoon, everyone. Please let me know if you can hear me so that I can begin the class. So once your program starts, you can just hello. Yes, that's your scratch. So you can start. Hello, can we hear me? Hello, if you can hear me, please wave your hands. Let me see.
Yes.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay, so I'm going to
I can hear you.
All right, so I'm going to start the class right away. Sorry, my camera is actually very bad, so you can't see my face. Okay, I believe you can see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So yesterday we went through HTML. I believe you can remember that, and we talked about HTML, and we said that HTML is going to help us to write our game. I believe you can remember that as well.
Yes, sir.
So today we are going to quickly continue from where we stopped yesterday, and I will make sure that by the end of today's class we are able to complete our HTML part of our code and the CSS part, so that from tomorrow we'll just kick off the JavaScript part. Please, can you help with the noise? You can mute your mic. When you want to speak, you unmute your mic. Is that clear?
Yes, sir. Okay, sir.
Thank you very much. So we're going to continue with the HTML and CSS part. And yesterday we were writing the CSS for our code. And I told you that CSS is usually used to style your code. Are you there? Usually use CSS to style your code. So usually HTML is like your building, a building without window, without door, without design, no decoration, no painting and anything. But when you begin to paint, you begin to put doors, you begin to put window, that is what your CSS does. It gives your house a style. I believe you can hear me. So it gives your house a style, and that is what we want to do with our CSS today. So we started yesterday by giving a border 5px solid Are you with me? So we started with our border. I said I used 5px solid because you said you could not see the 1px solid. So this 5px is supposed to make my line very thick. So you're supposed to make it very thick. So if you use 5px, 6px, the higher the number, the thicker the line will be on your code. Is that clear? I believe some of you tried these things yesterday. Did you try it? Okay, so I want to believe you tried the code yesterday. So today we're just going to continue from where I stopped yesterday. Okay, sorry for the interruption. My network went off. I'm back now. I hope you can hear me. Jomiloju, you can hear me? Okay, that's
Yes, sir.
all right. Thank you, Darasimi. That's very cool. So I'm just going to share my screen again and continue. Okay. So here we have a border to be 5px solid. And I told you that what you have to do to see this from your browser, of course, you open your HTML with your browser, you click on file, excuse me, click on file and then you save. And then you want to open this code on your browser. So you open it on your browser, and by the time you open it on your browser, you're going to get the results, just like I have done here. So some of you are just joining us, you're welcome. So we'll continue from where we stopped. The next line of code we want to write after the border is we want to add margin to our code. So I'll use the margin 0 and auto. Please, if you are just coming in, please just mute your. Thank you very much for doing that. So we have margin and 0. Our margin will be 0 and auto. So the margin is for the top and the bottom, the left and right. So we want 0 to be at the top and at the bottom. Then we want our left and right to be auto. Let it just automatically size what we want for us. Is that clear? Okay. So thank you for joining us. You're welcome. We started this yesterday, and if you've not been with us, we have been writing the HTML and CSS part of our game code. We talked about HTML as in hypertext markup language, and that we're going to be making a brick game using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. We started by writing our HTML code, just like the one you are seeing on my screen now yesterday. And today we are writing the CSS for the page. And also we're going to be writing the other parts of the HTML. Paul, you are welcome. I can see that you've just joined us. That's why I'm trying to explain what we have on the screen, what we have been doing so far. So just follow along. By the time I'm through with this, I'm going to come over again. I'm going to go over it again so that those who were not here yesterday would be able to at least just get what we're trying to do here. Now, I said we used the border. The border we used was to draw a line, that is to give our game space a border, so we know where we are working on our web. So it just gives us the space where we want our game to be. Of course, you don't want your game to be the whole screen, so we just use the border to create where we want. And we did that using this HTML called Canva. Now the Canva is what we are going to be using to draw the box in the game. And so it is this Canva that we are styling using the inline style. Internal style, pardon me, we're using the internal style. That is the one in the head part of our HTML document to style. And that is why we are having Canva here. This is Canvas, as same as this Canvas. That means this is what we are styling. So I said we want to give that Canvas, this Canvas here that we give 600 px height and 800 px width. We want to give it a border of 5 px solid. Actually, it should be 1, but because 1 is not very thick, so I made it 5 px solid. And then our margin is the space that the square or the rectangle is supposed to have outside on the outer part after the border. So we made it 0 and auto. So we've set the top and the bottom is 0, the left and right. We'll let our screen decide what that size will be. Then the next line is the width. The width. I want to believe you are trying this as well. The width, you want to use 800 pixel as our width. Please, if you are not saying anything, you can please mute your mic, except you have a question for me. And please make sure you raise your hand before you do that. Okay. So I'll continue right now. The width is 800 px, and then we're going to say display, and our display will be block. Like I told you yesterday that Visual Studio Code is very easy to use, and you can see that it's just suggesting some of these attributes and characteristics, properties I want to use to make. So that is one of the advantages of using Microsoft using Visual Studio Code, Microsoft Visual Studio Code. The ease of use, it allows you to it suggests the properties for you just as you are typing on your code. So I want to use margin top now. Margin top, margin hyphen top, and I want to use 50 px. That means I want to push the rectangle 50 pixel away from the top of the screen, from the top of the browser. And we're going to have this saved. I'm going to save this, and we're going to see what result we have first before I continue. So I've saved this. Now. I'm just going to go to my browser, and I'm going to refresh the browser. Okay, so this is what I believe you can see my shared screen. Okay, so this is the results you have now. this is what result we have now. Now, if you look at my code very well, you see that there is an error. And what is the error? There is your here. And we want to see why is there this your here, because I did not write this inside. This is not supposed to be any of my content. This is not supposed to be part of my content, but it's showing here. That means I have done something wrong in my code. So what we do is I'll head back to my code, and I'm going to correct that. Head back to my code and I'll correct that. Okay, so I'm going to share the screen with you so that you see. I believe you can see this now. So here you see that there's your ear. Can you see? So this is where this is coming in. This is what is showing in my code that I do not want. I'm going to remove it. I've done that already. And then you have all this on. You have all this already. We have all this already in our browser. So this is what results we are supposed to have on our browser. I believe you all can see the screen now. This is my screen. I'll just refresh, and this is going to disappear. Okay, I need to save this. Okay, so I need to save this file, save, and I'll change back to my browser. I'll go to refresh, share my browser screen with you so that you can see, and I'm going to refresh this. And okay, so all I have now is my break game and the space where I want my game to be. That is all I have on the screen. Now, notice that there is this distance between my box and my break game written up here, and that is because of the margin I used earlier. So what if I reduce the margin? If I reduce the margin, I probably make it the margin top, I make it 20px, and I save this. And then I come to my browser and I refresh this page. I hope you can see this.
Yes, sir.
Good. You notice that it's changed already. You can see that it's changed already. So this is the space has reduced a little bit so that we have our box all on just one page, and that's all. So this is what you should have on your code. By the time you have done your own parts, you should have something like this. Now I want to add one more interesting thing to this code before I begin to explain the JavaScript part to us. There's one more thing I want you to understand from this code. I want to just make this box stand out, and so that we're not just saying this square or this rectangle because of our size. I'm going to head back to my code, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a background color to my Canva to my canvas, and I will add a background color to the body as well. So to add the background color is very simple. You just use the background color characteristic. So I'm going to write background color. And I'm going to use black. So my background color for the Canva is black. Now, this is just to show you what the background color looks like. I cannot use background color black on my game because it just makes the whole game area very dark. If I save this and I show you, click on save. So I'm going to go to my page and I'm going to refresh this, and as you can see, my box is dark, all black inside. But it's not my box, I want to make dark. I want to make the background dark. So I'm going to change this color from black. I'm going to change it to blue. And I'm going to write a new style for, just like I have canvas written here as my selector. We call this selector. What you want to style is regarded as a selector. So I want to style my canvas. Now, what I want to style is the body. So just like I have written canvas, I'll just write body. And then remember, to style, you use curly brace. To write in your HTML, you use angle brackets. To style, we use curly brace. To style, to style, we use curly brackets. To write your HTML, you use angle brackets, just like the ones you have around your body canvas. You can see it's highlighted. That is the open part of the angle bracket, what we call open tag. And to style, we just have this coily brace, or you call it curly brackets. That is what we use to write our style. So I want to make the whole of my screen to be dark so that my square will stand out properly. So I'm going to use background color. And I'm going to make it black now. So I've said background color should be black. I'm going to save this. And now I'm going to go to my browser and I'm going to refresh. Now, as you can see on my screen, I have my background, the whole of my screen to be black, and I have my box to be blue. Of course, you notice one thing again, my text is missing. The reason why my text is missing is because the color of my text is black, as you can see. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
So as you can see, because my text is black, you can see it's still there. My breakout brick game is black. That is why you cannot see it. So that means I'm going to again go back to my code and change the color of my text. So how do I do that? I'm going to use H1 as my selector now, because that is where my text is written. All right, H1, and then I'll put the curly brace, and I want to give it color. And I want to call it pink, or I say hot pink. Good. And I'm going to go to file, I'm going to save this, and I'll come to my browser and I will refresh. And as you can see, my breakout brick game is out on the hot pink color, as you can see. So this is the beginning of our code. So our code is almost ready. what else do I want to do? I want to move my breakout break game. I want to move it to the center of the box. Once I'm through with all this I'm doing, I just want you to have a little idea of some CSS properties. I want you to have an idea of some CSS properties so that you'll be able to at least try a few things by yourself at home. So what I want to do is I want to move my breakout break game to the center of the screen. So what I want to do is I'll go back to my code and then I would go to canvas. Okay, I want to move my breakout break game. So I'll continue writing inside H1 because that is where it is written. You can see H1. So that is where we'll continue writing. Hot pink is the color. I want to make it to the center. So we use text align. Text align. And center. Text align center. I want to go to file and save and back to my browser and I want to refresh, and you can see my breakout break game is at the center of my screen. Is that clear? So that means I can also increase the width of my canvas. I can increase the width of my canvas to maybe 900 and make the height 500. I'll go to file, I'll save, I'll back to my code, I'll refresh, and then it is changed. So the size, the width has increased by 100 and the height has reduced by 100. So you can try some of these things out by yourself. Like I told you yesterday, I don't want you to limit your code to exactly what I'm writing. Just try and make a little changes in your own code and let's see what result you get. Of course, like I said yesterday, if you have anything that is different from my own or your code is not working for one reason or the other, you can just mention it in the group and we'll just correct that. So I'm going to change my code back to the normal size. I'm going to save this and I'm going to refresh and okay, my code is back. So on this basics is where we are going to be having JavaScript. So before I end this class now, what I want to do is I want to quickly explain this HTML and CSS to you again, at least for those that were not able to join us yesterday. Now I told us that HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Sorry for that interruption. So I was explaining that HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and HTML is what we use to build websites. Whatever website you see today has a basics of HTML in it. Because of our time, I might not be able to show you some of these things, but I will try and show you a few websites after now, and I'll show you what the HTML of that website looks like. But basically, websites are made with HTML. And sometimes I know some of you have tried to browse on Google Chrome, and then you don't have internet, and then you see a game, one dinosaur or T-Rex or whatever, trying to jump over some flowers, some flowers that are not okay, and then you just try to play the game. A game like that is what we're trying to build here. But in our own case, we're building a block brick game. That is what we're trying to build. So we said that HTML is divided into two parts, the head part and the body part. So the head part is where we have our title and also where we have our internal style. I told us that there are three methods of writing style in HTML and CSS. There are three methods of writing style. You have inline, internal, and external. The external you might not know for now, but as time goes on, you might know what the external style looks like. Of course, it looks like this internal style that we have written, only that it is not always inside the HTML like this. While the inline style is, for example, the one I've written inside my canvas here. As you can see, you have canvas and then you have ID, canvas game, you have height 600px with 800px, blah, blah, blah. So I want to further express or design canvas, and that is why I've come to do it in the internal style, and that is done in the head part. And I told us that for you to do that, you would have to write it in an HTML tag called style. Now, the JavaScript we're going to be writing for this page as well, we'll be writing it in our HTML, and it will be contained in, sorry for the interruption. I believe we can hear me. Okay, I believe we can hear me. Sorry for the break in transmission. My network just got up. So, like I was saying, you have inline, internal, and external. So this is internal, and the inline is also used in this case as well. And I told us that JavaScript will be written in the body part. That is, after this canvas, we're going to be writing our JavaScript. So it's going to be something like this. Script. So it's going to be a script file like this. This is more like what we're going to be using to write our JavaScript. So it comes in the body part. That means whatever you want to write in HTML will always be in what I call tag. And I told us that tags in HTML come in pairs. They come in pairs, that means in twos. You have the open tag and you have the close tag. You have the open tag and you have the close tag. So the open tag is usually without the slash, while the end tag or the close tag is usually with the slash, something like this. So I told us that it is very important that when you open a tag in HTML, you close it properly, because if you do not close it, your code might turn out wrongly. For example, here in my style, the closing of my style, I'm just going to remove this slash, and you can see that the rest of my code has changed. So it's trying to tell my text editor that I am still writing a style. So this, if I save this code now, if I save this now and I come to my browser, and I refresh this page, you see that nothing is showing again. I don't have anything again because I refuse to close my style tag. So it is important that in HTML, when you open a tag, you close it. And the close tag is always the same with the open tag, except that the close tag would have a slash before you write it. So I'll go back to my code and debug my code. Okay, so I will just debug my code here. So I'll just put my slash back, and you see that my code is back to normal. Now, another thing you must understand in CSS, that is for HTML, as for the tags. In CSS, I told you that once you write the selector, you write the properties, and then you want to write the units. Just like I have canvas here, we call this canvas a selector. That means select canvas from my HTML. That is what we call a selector. So once you have a selector like that, you want to sorry for that little interruption. I'm really sorry. My network went off quickly. I'm going to share my screen again and we'll continue. Okay. So I'm rounding up now. So I said, just as you have your slash, your HTML to have open tag and close tag, in CSS, there's something that is very important that you must not omit, and that is a semicolon after your properties. So here I have background color and I have black here. So this is my property. I want property and then this unit black. I'm using this black. So if I erase this semicolon here, that automatically means I have not completed this code. That means I have something more I want to write. And then my code will not display what I want. So I'm going to put it back and then I'm going to save it and then my code is going to be okay. Now that is what we have for HTML and CSS. In 2 minutes, I'm going to be ending this class. So I'm just going to answer. Paul, I got your question and I'm going to answer it very quickly. Yesterday, I said that we use Visual Studio Code to write HTML and CSS. Now, if you can look at my screen, this is basically my Visual Studio Code text editor, and we use it to write websites and probably some other programming languages too. For this course, we're going to be using to write HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Now, to use Visual Studio Code, you open the Visual Studio Code on your computer. Once you open Visual Studio Code, you, of course, create a new file. So once you open it, usually you get a welcome page from Visual Studio Code showing you updates and all that. So what you want to do is you want to click on File, then you go to New File, and then you have a fresh file as this. It will be titled Untitled 1. So I told you that there are 2 ways of doing this, but for ease of use, what you do is before you start writing anything, just save this first. Save this file first. So you click on Save and you name it My Game. That was what we did yesterday. And then you always use